My name is Teri Greeves, and I'm from the Kiowa Nation. I started doing beadworking when I was about 8 years old. I grew up in my mother's trading post on the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming. And in that trading post, was where I first learned about beadworking and started to understand it. Beads are so tactile and they're so visual as well. And then for me as a Native person, there's also smell to them because it comes in smoked hide. So the smell of smoked hide is the smell of my mother because she wore her hair wrapped in braids. And then the feel of those cold beads is the tactile sensation that I had since infancy. And so my mother had a closet, and in her closet she had all her beaded medallions hanging on the wall. She had her moccasins in a shelf, her shawls hanging, and my sister and I would go in that closet and we'd close the door and turn off the light in there, and we would just smell the smoked hide, and we could feel those cold beads in our hands. And so for me, beadwork has always been a really fully sensory experience. To this day, I still love pulling out beads and just feeling them in my hands, looking at how the light hits them, seeing how they react with the things that are around them and behind them. So beadworking is what I've spent my lifetime doing. It's been a source of inspiration and sustenance in both the physical and the spiritual world for me my entire life. And so that's what I do. That's what I've been doing. To me, art, that word art, is it's more than just object. It's more than just technique. It's more than composition. All those things are just the words that we use to try to explain it as a non-artist or from that non-artistic thing. But for me, art is that tapping in and that ability then to make something from that connectivity that we have. The connectivity is, for me, to the spiritual world, but it's also into the world around me. So the world around me and the environment around me is part of where the inspiration comes from. And so art to me is incredibly important for all of humanity in all time and space, because that is our ability to communicate with each other through feeling, which we can do through objects. It's an incredible thing, and it's a true gift. It's a blessing. My idea is to make something so dazzling that people are going to look at it and be curious about it and walk to it, to walk into it. And I have used beauty in my work through the years because I think beauty is one of those ways that many people can connect to it. So I use that kind of as a gateway to walk into larger concepts. Materiality is also really important because materiality is so important with all of the traditional work that we do. So when we're making work for our own people, when we're making work for ourselves, prayer is involved in all of that, because you have that person in mind when you're making that thing, and you're thinking about them intensely while you're making that thing, and you're making decisions as you're working with them in mind. Color choices, design, all kinds of things, the material, all that stuff comes into it as you're thinking about that person. So it was that process of considering deeply who it's for in prayer that I was most interested in. My prayer is that the non-Native viewer and the non-Kiowa viewer can look at my work, be curious enough to inquire and understand their relationship to us, their relationship to my people, and to take away that they are not American without us. We were Kiowa long before this country ever existed, but this country does not exist without us. The American identity is entwined with the Native identity and dependent upon it. It's been dependent upon it since they first came to our shores. And if anything, I would like non-Native audience to look at my work, to not when they don't understand it, then to go and say, I don't understand this, I want to understand better who these people are. I really think it's important that we can impart whatever little things that we know and all of that to the next generation so that they can incorporate that in and then take it forward with them as they're bringing in all these new things. And that's how we move forward. That's how we continue to grow. That's that prayer that we all say for those next generations that are coming.